दृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ फोर्थ चैप्टर फर्स्ट मंत्र। सा ब्रह्मेति होवाच ब्रह्मणो वा एतद्विजये महीयध्वम् इति ततो हैव विदाञ्चकार ब्रह्मेति। So sa brahmeti ha uvacha. Ha means indeed. So then Uma appeared, we know. So Uma appeared and said it was Brahman to Indra, being asked by, of course, Indra. Uma in the form of this Brahma Vidya said that Yaksha was none other than Brahman. And also she said, Brahmano va etad vijaye mahiyadvam. Va means vai. Here va actually means or, but here due to some sandhi rule it becomes va. So you have to take it as a vai. And vai means basically it is also indicating a which is prasiddha. So vai also means indeed. So brahmana vai etad vijaye mahiyadvam. So what etad is here, it is considered as an adverb, which is indeclinable. It indicates the valor, glories, honors, praises, etc. Well showered on you, showered on the devatas. She said to Indra that because of this victory, all this valor, glories, etc. which are showered on you for this, well definitely for this victory in the fight of these devas and asuras is because of the Brahman alone. Brahmano vai. Brahmanaha. So this victory is a victory of Brahman. That's what she wants to convey. Brahman is Saguna Brahma, means that is Ishvara, provides you everything, all the situations. As a Karmaphala Data, it provides you all the situations of power and conduciveness to fight, all this. And well, the situation exists, you exist, your body exists, your power exists, you are a conscious being. So from where this existence consciousness comes? Same Brahman, but by Swarupa, by Nirgun Brahman. Well, basically as a Sachidatma, it has provided existence and consciousness. And also, well, in presence of Brahman, all the senses and everything function, right? All organs of action also function. So all these abilities also to the senses, etc. And the mind. Mind is a mind. Mind works as a mind because of Brahman. Ears work as a ear, Shrotrasya Shrotram. So the abilities etc. are also there for any sense organ or organ of action or the mind or the pranas, all function basically in presence of whom? That is Brahman, that is Nirgunam Brahma, Sachidatma. So existence, consciousness and ability of every organ basically is due to this Sachidatma. Here we have to remember Shotrasya Shotram, Manaso Manaha, etc. So ultimately anyway, what if I mean, the strength you have and the situations you have, a very favorable situation by which you won over the asuras, etc. All as a karmaphala data, Ishvara has provided you as a Saguna Brahma. And as a Nirguna Brahma, the existence and consciousness you have, the abilities in your senses you have, that is due to Nirguna Brahma, that is as a Satchidatma. So ultimately everything, whole Vijaya, whole victory belongs to Ishvara. And so you are not there at all. Therefore, basically, so if I reveal, Ishvara says, if I reveal myself, well, you are no more there anywhere. Well, so Ishvara is. So Jiva and Ishvara are one. Basically, what it wants to indicate is, see, what happens is, so far ignorance goes, Jiva and Ishvara are different. Once ignorance is no more there, no more Jiva, no more Jiva Srushti, only Ishvara Srushti. Or else, well, everything is Brahman. Either you say everything is Ishvara, well, taking name and form and everything into account, no problem. Even though it is Mithya, but as we said, that Mithya thing continues to be there even after Jnana. And therefore it is Ishvara. What will we say to this creation? How will we account for this body? How will I account for my thought? How will I account for my senses? Still they are functioning, everything, after Jnanam also. Yeah, that is all Ishvara. That's all Ishvara. And therefore, basically, Jiva goes away. That's all. Only Ishvara Srushti remains. Mithya Srushti will remain. No, and if you don't count the Srushti, names and forms, etc., well, everything is Brahman. Everything is myself. You can say that. Anyway, so Yaksha that appeared is only for the Upasana. That's the Saguna Brahma, which appeared in a certain form, even though it is a very effulgent, very, 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 very fascinating form, very, very, very exalted form, but it is for Upasana, meditation. The one whom people objectify and worship is really, not really the Sarupa of Yaksha. And that we have seen also, Nedam Yadidam Upasate. This Brahman is, well, basically, Na Idantaya Upasate. What you worship as this. That is not the real nature of Ishvara. That is, not nature of Brahman. So, Yaksha which appeared in this form, of course, for Upasana it is really good. That will give you grace. And through grace, you will come to know what is the identity of Yaksha. That's what Indra did. So that Yaksha is not to be gained as an object. In the form, he is not to be known as an object in the form in which it appeared. And so that's how he disappeared, because Indra wanted to know the Yaksha as an object. So, and that's what also we have seen. We are trying to connect with what we have already seen. This story is ultimately to assimilate the teaching, in case we have not understood the teaching what has been taught in the second chapter and first chapter, to make those things understand through the story, and we can assimilate. So we are trying to connect to all these mantras we have seen in the first chapter and second chapter. So, yasya amatam tasya matam yasya na vedasaha. For whom the Brahman is not known is really known, and for whom it is known, he doesn't know. That's how it's said, right? As an object. So very beautiful. This is like a puzzle they are giving. Yasya amatam tasya matam. Yasya matam tasya matam. That's how it is been told. Matam means known. Man dhatu is there. Man means to know. From there we have got this word manaha. Mana means manute anene iti manaha, by which you know something. That's a mind. So from that the past passive participle is matam. So as a matam, known. So for whom this Brahman is not known as an object, he knows the Brahman. And for whom it is known as an object, he doesn't know. So if you see Yaksha and say, you know basically who the Yaksha is, in reality, he doesn't know. That's how he disappeared. And the people who the Devatas were, approached, Devatas approached them to know what is the identity of Yaksha, from where he has come, what is the, Sarupa of Yaksha. He disappeared. Means he wants to convey that you cannot know me as an object. And well, of course, with the help, in prayer of Indra, etc., then Brahma Vidya appeared and gave the nature of what is the truth of Yaksha, taught the truth of Yaksha. So, Vayu and Agni also attempted to know, but they could not understand. Indra's attempt was also futile. Well, he also could not know the Yaksha's Sarupam. But with the help of course, Uma, that is Shruti, Brahma Vidya, Indra understood that it is Brahman because of whom Vayu is a Vayu, Agni is a Agni, and Prithvi is a Prithvi, mind is a mind, everything. Everything is ultimate. This is the definition of Brahman. Because of whom computer is a computer, and because of whom the refrigerator is a refrigerator, and because of whom ultimately light is a light, is a definition of electricity. And same way here, everything is a particular thing functioning in a particular domain, and the very existence of that thing, everything is ultimately due to Brahman. I mean, truth of every object is Brahman. That's how yesterday we said. So this Atma pervades everything in form of existence in the outer world, and Atma pervades this inner world in the form of consciousness, because there is a subtle body. Consciousness and existence, of course, everything is pervaded by both. There are not actually both. Consciousness is existence and existence is consciousness. But then you can very well appreciate, in outer world you can appreciate existence, and here you can appreciate consciousness, because the subtle body is there. Anyway, so it is ultimately Brahman because of whom the Vayu is a Vayu, Agni is Agni, and that's proved. They could not even lift blow the grass, or they could not burn the grass. Even the Sakshat Agni still could not do anything. Therefore, Agni is Agni on behalf of Brahman, and Vayu is a Vayu in behalf of Brahman. Tata eva Vidanchakara, from the teaching of this Uma, the Brahma Vidya alone, Indra understood the Yakshaya, which is to be a manifestation of Brahman. That's a manifestation. And Brahman's manifestation is Ishvara, Saguna Brahma, we can say. Because it's a manifestation, which you can know, which you can objectify. You can objectify Brahman, but not as in its Swarupa. In its manifest form, you can objectify. And so, which is the very self. Indra also did not come to know on his own. Uma only taught him. And this is the same with everybody else. Instead of Indra, if we are also there, definitely Shastra and the teacher has to appear in order to say you are that Brahman. Let's go to mantra number 2. Tasmadva ete devaha atitaram iva anyan devan yadagnihi vayuhu indraha tehi enan nedishtam pasprishuhu tehyenat prathamo vidanchakara brahmeti. So it says here, tasmad means therefore, why, again indeed, ete devaha, this devas, which are the devas? Yad Agni Vayu Indraha, this Agni Vayu Indra, etc., these devas, atitaram iva, they indeed atitaram, they exalt, they excelled, whom they excelled? Anyan devan atitaram, they excelled other devas. Tasmad means because of this. Because of what? Because of Brahma Vidya. Because of Brahma Vidya they gained. Of course, Indra got first, and then Indra taught to Agni and Vayu that this Yaksha is nothing but the Brahman. Because of him we got the victory. Because of whose power we got a victory. Because he is in the form of existence, consciousness, and all the abilities, in our senses. And therefore, definitely, because of whom we have got the victory. So all this victory, ultimately the glories belong to Brahman, etc., etc. So Indra first got from the Uma, and then Indra taught to Agni and Vayu that he revealed the identity of Yaksha. And this is how these three devas, Yad Agni Vayu Indraha, these three devas, Atitaram, they excelled Anyan Devan, they excel other devas. Tehi enam nedishtam pasprshuhu. They went very near to the Yaksha, all the three. So many devatas are there. All were standing and, all were gathered and they were saying, who is this Yaksha? Who is this Yaksha? And then ultimately these three went near to Yaksha. Tehi enam nedishtam. Nedishtam means closely. Very closely they approached, or they went very intimate. They pasprushuhu. So here, nedishtam pasprushuhu means they contacted very closely, intimately. Tehi enat prathamo vidanchakara brahmeti. Well, tehi enat, they first came to know that this Yaksha to be Brahman. And therefore they excelled all other devas. See, this is the way Brahma Vidya has been extolled. Brahma Vidya has, the glory of Brahma Vidya has been shown. That one who came to know basically the Indra, he excelled other devas. And he taught to Indra and, Agni and Vayu. So they also excelled other devas. So they knowing Brahman, they excelled other devas means what? Ultimately Brahma Vidya is they are singing the glory of a Brahma Vidya through this story also. Anyway, so basically here I have told you this, what we discussed in the first chapter and the second chapter, ultimately taking what is Adhyatma into account. And we showed that, at Adhyatma level, all the senses are able to function, they are able to objectify the respective objects because of Brahman. And here, it has been shown at the level of Adhyatma. Ultimately, Adhyatma or Adhidaiva. So here it has been shown at the level of Adhidaiva. So I'm sorry, in the story. And so a sense organ, instead of a sense organ, here it has been taken as a Deva. The sense organ is able to function because of consciousness Brahman. Here it says the Devas are able to function and won over the Asuras, etc. because of Brahman. And that's so ultimately Deva and senses are compared, and that is correct. In fact, I don't remember right now, but in Upanishad, Indra, in this our senses have been denoted as a Deva directly, because they are also able to reveal the objects. They are also able to lighting up the object, every sense organ. And Devas are also very self-effulgent. The Devas are also effulgent. And therefore, the senses are also effulgent, they are able to light up the object, and therefore senses and devas are always compared. So at Adhyatma level, senses, at Adhidaiva level, the devatas. So this is how it is. And as the mind or the intellect is a lord of all the senses, same way Indra is a lord of all the devatas. This is how we have to understand. And that's Brahman, which is Shrotrasya Shrotam, Chakshusha Chakshuhu, Manaso Manaha, that indicates that basically Chakshu, the ears and eyes and etc., they cannot objectify Brahman. And even the mind also cannot objectify the Brahman. That is what has been told. See, here it has been taken as a Devas now. Now Agni is a Adhishtan Devata of a Vak. So words, there it has been told Vachoha Vacham, means the words cannot reveal Brahman. Words cannot objectify. And we have seen also, all the languages and all the words, no word can illumine Brahman ultimately. And so here it has been told in the story, where Agni went near to Yaksha, but he could not know what the Yaksha is. And then Indra, the lord of all the Devas, there we said, mind cannot objectify. Manaso Manaha, it has been told. Mind cannot objectify in at Adhyatma level. And here it says, Indra cannot know. Indra could not know what that Yaksha is. Indra is basically a lord of all the Devatas. And mind is a lord of all the senses. Same thing. Senses are Devas. Mind is a lord of all the senses. And here all the Devatas are taken. And Indra is a lord of all the Devatas. So same thing at Adhyatma level and Adhidaiva level. It is parallelly going on. Indra also could not Indra could not understand who the Yaksha is. And therefore, basically it has been told here, they cannot, the sense organs and the buddhi well, they cannot gain the knowledge of Yaksha or Brahman. And well, at the same time, Brahman is Prasiddham, right? All the Devatas know the Yaksha is. So, Samanyena Prasiddham. This is what beautiful thing is. Now we are going to discuss one principle, that Samanyataha Prasiddham, yet it is not Visheshataha Prasiddham, which is in general you know it is, but what it is you don't know. Same thing happened. Yaksha, everybody knew that the Yaksha is, but who the Yaksha is, what is the identity of Yaksha, nobody knows. And it can be, this thing can be, we can understand at the Adhyatma level also. Even though mind cannot objectify it, even the senses cannot objectify it, like because basically Atma is Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Arasam, Nityam, Agandavat. So, well, Atma cannot be heard, Atma cannot be seen, Atma cannot be smelled, Atma cannot be tasted, Atma cannot be touched. And therefore, no Indriya can objectify, no senses can objectify that. And mind also cannot objectify that. So, well, at Adhyatma level, but still Atma is Prasiddham. Even though you cannot objectify through the senses, through the mind, yet Atma is Prasiddham. Atma is known to you very well, but not very well means Saman. In general, it is known to you. And how it is known to you? I am. So, well, this Brahman, the Yaksha, the Brahman is known to you, but as I. And therefore, you cannot say, well, it is not totally, you cannot say, I don't know at all. It is known to you. As it is known to you. Even though you cannot objectify through the senses or the mind, no pramana, basically. Mind means all other things are covered. Inference is covered. Senses means pratyaksha is covered, perception is covered, which is available to you, means of knowledge. But still you cannot objectify through the pratyaksha. Okay, then mind. Mind means inference comes, presumption comes, upamanam comes, all these things comes. But that also they cannot objectify. Words also cannot objectify. That also has been told. Vachoha vacham, etc. Anyway, so all the means of knowledge available to the human being, through that one cannot illumine Brahman or Yaksha, Atma, but at the same time, you cannot say, I don't know at all. It is known to you. Brahman is known as a I. That is called Samanya Prasiddhi. In general, you know. Brahman Visheshata is not known to you. That Brahman is not known to you. Brahman is known as I. In every cognition, in fact, it is known, but it is not known as a Brahman. So, well, the attempts of the Buddhi, etc., to know Brahman are not going to be useful, fruitful, because Brahman is the mind of the mind, etc., and therefore cannot be thought of by the mind. What it wants to convey, mind of the mind, means what? Mind cannot objectify, because the very functioning of the mind is due to Brahman or Atma. And therefore, definitely then mind is not the very existence of the mind. The very consciousness in the mind is due to Atma or due to Brahman. Well, then the mind cannot objectify it, and therefore being separate from it. And therefore, that is the way it cannot be known. So, well, at the same time, it is known as the consciousness that is So, even though mind cannot objectify Brahman, but it is known in the mind as every piece of knowledge. It is present in the mind as consciousness in every cognition. Pratibodha viditam matam, it has been told. Every cognition, Brahman is invariably present. And so people definitely ask, where should I know this Brahman? Even though it is all pervading, where should I know the Brahman? You should know the Brahman where it has manifested. The Brahman which has manifested at some place, that is the place where you should know. And it has manifested in the Buddhi. Well, and therefore you should know Brahman as where the manifestation has taken place. If it is unmanifest, well, if it is not known through any means of knowledge, then you will never know whether the Brahman exists or not. But it has manifested in the mind. And therefore, mind is such a special material. And therefore, even you see the sunlight, How is the sun you want to know? What will you do? So we say, you see in the reflecting medium, particular reflecting medium, you want to see. Sunlight is all pervading. But you want to know the source of that sunlight, which is all pervading. How the sun is, you want to know. Okay, take the mirror. It manifests into that. So know that the sun is like this. So same way, the Brahman also, or Atma, even though mind cannot objectify, being mind of the mind, but basically in the mind there are cognition taking place every moment. And in cognition there is one invariable factor which cannot be negated. That is Brahman, because Brahman is Satyam. Satyam is Abhaditam. It cannot be negated. Oh, then in mind, in cognition, there is one factor which is invariable, which cannot be negated. That factor is the Atman, Brahman, and that is consciousness. And therefore, in mind there is a pot cognition and clip cognition, book cognition, table cognition. Well, that is there. But pot cognition means what? Pot thought plus consciousness. Book cognition is what? Book thought plus consciousness. Clip cognition is what? Clip thought plus cognition, consciousness. And so consciousness is invariable factor. And that invariable factor, invariable consciousness is that is Brahman, that is the Satyam. Consciousness means it is Jnanam, and that is invariable, present in everything. And other than that, in cognition is a variable factor, that is Jagat. That is Jagat. So what is variable is the creation, Jagat, and what is invariable is the Brahman. And this is how it is. So including my body, mind, sense complex, everything is variable, and that's a variable manifestation of Brahman. And that you need not search that Brahman anywhere else. Just look at your mind, and you will find there are several cognitions in which one is a variable factor, another is an invariable factor, and that variable factor and invariable factor cannot be separated. Yeah. So pot thought and consciousness. I would like to separate consciousness and pot thought. You cannot do this, sir. And so pot is there, and pot thought is also there, and that is a variable factor, because pot thought will be replaced by a clip thought, and clip thought will be replaced by a book thought. It's a variable, and that is all the time associated with consciousness. That is invariable. And so basically invariable in every cognition is the Sarupam of Brahman, that is consciousness, and the variable manifestation of the Brahman is this Jagat, which includes my body, mind, sense complex. Because definitely when you say I am a human being, and I am a good, I am bad, I am this, I am that, so all the time there also variable things are there. And so even in this body, mind, sense complex, you all the time don't denote whole thing, Sometimes you say I am very, very kind. So you are not referring to the entire thing. You are referring just to a mind only. When you say I am male, you are referring just to a physical body. You are not all the time referring to the entire complex. So that also variable is there. So I am is basically invariable factor. But other than that, body, mind, sense complex, it varies. Sometimes you say I am male, then you refer physical body. When you say I am ignorant, you are referring to other thing. When you say I am knowledgeable, you are referring to buddhi, etc. So there is a variable. So I am is invariable. So body, mind, sense complex, and all other cognitions, different cognitions, all in that there is a variable manifestation of Brahman, and invariable in every cognition is this Sarupa of Brahman, and that is consciousness. And so nothing to worry. Even though mind cannot know, but if you basically look into the mind, in every cognition you will recognize that Brahman is very much present. That has been indicated by Pratibodha Viditam Matam. And when this is true with reference to the mind and the senses, it is also true with the reference to Devatas also. Like Indra, Agni and Vayu. Indra represent the mind in Adhyatma. And other Devatas represent the senses in Adhyatma. So Adhideva and Adhyatma are connected. So whatever is valid for the jiva at adhyatma level is valid for the devatas also. Means by becoming a devata, well, there is no automatic gain of moksha. And even the devatas whom we worship whom we worship basically are Brahman, but every devata has to recognize this fact. So Indra, Agni and Vayu gain moksha because Uma taught them Brahma Vidya. So they should also know that you are Brahman. That has to be taught. And definitely, otherwise devatas also, even though they are so exalted, but they are jivas, exalted jivas. And why exalted compared to human being? Human being is also jiva and devatas also jiva. The difference is they have a lot of sattva in the mind. That's all. And that's how even Uma tells them, Brahma Vidya tells them, well, that Yaksha is Brahman, that is your nature. Well, it's enough. One sentence is enough for them. That's all. That much sattva they have. And for us, maybe lifetime, or maybe more than that also may be required because of not predominance of sattva. That's how they say karma yoga will definitely, even bhakti, etc., upasanas, all the sadhanas, all the religious practices bring more of sattva, make you more predominantly in sattva. Then the knowledge is just like a fire, it just takes place. And so Uma just said this much. Well, that Yaksha was Brahman, and because of them you gained the victory ultimately. So it is a victory of a Brahman. That much. All understood. Very well understood. Indra understood. So this is the exalted jiva means this. So devatas are basically exalted in terms of their antakaran, which is predominant in sattva. Anyway, so just one statement is enough for them to gain the knowledge of Brahman. And but they have to gain knowledge. That's what they say. They have to, even though devatas must be knowing, no. Devatas also do not know. Devatas also have to ultimately know. They also went near to Yaksha to know that, but they wanted to objectify the Ishvara. Well, that is not correct. And so they ultimately, Uma appeared, and because of grace, of course, we'll see that. So Uma taught them a Brahma Vidya. Yeah, even they required the Shruti, and so you also need the same Shruti, same Upanishad, etc., same Mahavakya. That is the idea conveyed here. Tataha eva vidanchakara. From this teaching alone they came to know. Tataha means thereafter. Tata is equal to thereafter. Thereafter means after teaching by Uma, they came to know, because they were ready for it. So they had to be taught. Because one cannot stumble upon it, because it is oneself, right? Ultimately, no one can show you like that this is Brahman, because that is your nature, that is yourself, and therefore one cannot stumble upon. That is Pujya Swami's statement. One cannot stumble upon Brahman someday, because ultimately it's my own nature. So it has to be revealed by some external factor. Since it is myself, and I cannot know myself, because I know myself as a knower. I know myself as a Chidabhasa. That's my reality. That is what I understood as my reality. And therefore, somebody has to teach. The knower approaches a means of knowledge, and means of knowledge has to reveal that you are not a knower. You are not a Chidabhasa. You are basically the truth of the Chidabhasa. You are basically the limitless consciousness, or you are a witness of the knower, etc. The knower is also your status. You are knower, we don't deny it. But that's a mithya status. That's your mithya status. That's how I yesterday said Chidabhasa and Chit cannot be. No one can experience pure consciousness. You have to basically discard that I am not Chidabhasa. And that is mithya. You have to understand in that way. So Ishvara himself, Yaksha could have taught. No, but Yaksha could not taught, because Yaksha is the nature of Agni, Vayu and Devata, ultimately. Because Yaksha is this Agni, Yaksha is this Vayu, Yaksha is the Indra, and therefore Yaksha cannot taught. So Yaksha have disappeared, and so actually Brahman appeared as a Ishvara in the form of Yaksha, and then, it went away. What came in his place is this Brahma Vidya, the Pramana has to come, that gives the knowledge. And then what is the role of Ishvara? If Ishvara cannot reveal directly like that, then Ishvara's grace, because of Ishvara's grace, the Uma appeared. See, when Agni went and they did not pray, nothing, and they came back. Vayu also went and came back. Then Yaksha did not, the Uma did not appear. But when Indra went and Indra did not come back immediately, he stood there and prayed. And then definitely, through the grace of Yaksha, Brahma Vidya appeared. And so, in all life of all of us, a teacher has appeared, Puja Swamiji or anybody, whoever your teacher, and the Shastra, both appeared in your life is due to Ishvara's grace. That is what we say. So Ishvara's grace is, he does an arrangement in your life for a teacher and for a Shastra. And other things, maybe certain supportive things which so that you can study and you can contemplate, etc. All this is Ishvara's grace. So and that is how, in case of Arjuna, it is a different thing. Ishvara's grace, and Ishvara basically became a teacher and then taught. Ishvara's grace could have been in the form of directly giving moksha by putting hand, but it did not work. It did not work that way. Moksha will not come like this. One has to be taught, because there is a problem of ignorance, and therefore he has to be taught properly. And he taught it for 18 chapters, 17 chapters. And so this is, Brahma Vidya has to be there. In case of the Ishvara, he alone became a teacher, Brahma Vidya teacher for Arjuna, and then taught. But so, my point is, Ishvara himself is not the teacher really. So Yaksha went and Uma appeared, Brahma Vidya, definitely, which is a pramana for gaining knowledge. So basically that gives the knowledge. But how do we know that Uma is a Brahma Vidya? Well, then Shankaracharya ji himself, Bhashyakara, explained in the Bhashyam that Indrasya bodha hetutvat vidya eva Uma. Well, it says here, that is, she was responsible for Indra's knowledge. Uma was responsible for Indra's knowledge, and therefore we say Uma is a Brahma Vidya. But she said the Yaksha was Brahman. What the Yaksha which you saw is nothing but Brahman, and because of whose grace ultimately you won over the Asuras, etc. Anyway, and Agni and Vayu, of course, not knowing themselves, went to Yaksha in order to find out who he was. And they should first have asked, who am I? Then they would not have gone at all. But instead, they wanted to ask Yaksha, who are you? That is why Yaksha shot back. Then, tell me first who you are. Yaksha asked, tell me first who you are. If you would have asked this question, you would not have come here. And therefore, because Yaksha is a Sarvajna, he knows the intention of the Agni, Vayu, etc. And so the question Kositi, etc., who are you, is very relevant on the part of Yaksha to these Devatas. I mean, without knowing yourself, you come and ask me that who are you? It doesn't. So, who am I question to be asked. We should not ask to Ishvara, who are you? You ask, who am I? That will solve the problem. That will solve the problem. Everything will be covered. Then the second question will not remain. What that question? You will not ask to Ishvara, who are you? If you ask to yourself, who am I? Then this thing will resolve. That's what Yaksha did. So they went, these Devatas went to Yaksha in order to ask, who are you? Before that, Yaksha asked to them that, who are you? And therefore, it is very significant. And of course, they were not knowing, so they gave introduction of themselves in terms of ego. Ego means ahankara, chidavasa. I am so and so, I am Agni, and I am well known as a Jataveda, etc. Or Vayu said, I am a very prasiddha Vayu, and I am also called Matarishva, etc., etc. All this at the level of ego. And that's not a correct understanding, because they were ignorant also. And then Indra also went, and Indra wanted to introduce, but then Yaksha disappeared, and because of humility of the Indra, Uma appeared and then said, all of you, that basically ultimately it is Brahman. So Indra's prayer accounted for ultimately for Ishvara's grace, which is instrumental in providing the pramana. And pramana takes care of the knowledge then. So it has to be gained by a pramana, employed by a teacher, is the main idea conveyed here. Uma is a teacher. Uma is a Brahma Vidya, Uma is a teacher, and well, definitely, teacher is not separate from the Vidya. Any Brahma Vidya teacher is not separate from Brahma Vidya, ultimately. That is how it is. And so, Uma alone is a teacher and Uma alone is a Brahma Vidya. And for us, Brahma Vidya is a Brahma Vidya through the teacher. Brahma Vidya actually is a Upanishad. But Upanishad is not a Brahma Vidya, really speaking. Upanishad through the teacher becomes Brahma Vidya. That's a very important thing. That's how any traditional teacher is a Brahma Vidya, stands for Brahma Vidya. Anyway, Agni, the deity of speech, the words, could not know and came back. When Indra went, the Yaksha disappeared, and for once for all. Then Indra is, we know Indra means the mind, the Lord of the senses, Lord of the Devatas. So Indra is taken as the mind because he is Indriyanam Raja and Lord of the senses. And mind also attempted to know but failed. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. In Taitra Upanishad very beautifully said, Yato vacho nivartante. The words first went, and all the words, known words from the language, went to reveal Brahman, went to reveal Yaksha. They came back. Potok, potok, potok. They fell down. And then mind went. Well, that is how people also do the same thing. Want to know Atma. Oh, this is all jargon of words. And therefore, let's stop all this. Let's just meditate on Atma. Then Atma will reveal itself. So when the words fail, the mind is ready to reveal Atma. That also failed. So Indra also basically failed to know the identity of this. Because they cannot objectify. Problem is, with this Devatas, they want to objectify. And because Yaksha is there in front of them as object, and they want to know the identity of Yaksha as object, could not. Same like senses and mind. So the whole Shastra talks about the fact that this Brahman is not objectified. They want to convey that it cannot be objectified. And we have seen that also. Nedam yadidam upasate, etc. etc. Yan manasa na manute, yena ahur manomatam, tadeva brahmatvam viddi, nedam yadidam upasate. Well, by which, through the mind you cannot reveal the Brahman, because of which the mind is known. Mind cannot know the Brahman, but because of which the mind can objectify everything. That is Brahman. Nedam yadidam upasate, yidantayana upasate, you cannot objectify Brahman. What you objectify as Brahman, that is not really the Brahman. That's what we saw all this. Yashrotrena nashrunoti, yena shrotram idagam shrutam, tadeva brahmattam viddi, nedam yadidam upasate. The ears cannot hear Brahman, but because of which the ears are able to hear or pick up the sounds. That is Brahman. That way it has been told. It means ears cannot objectify it. Same way yat chakshusha na pashyadi, yena chakshugumshi pashyadi, tadeva brahmattam viddi, nedam yadidam upasate. Yat chakshusha na pashyadi. You cannot see the Atma through the eyes, but because of which the eyes are able to objectify everything, eyes are able to see. That is what the Brahman is. And therefore, nedam yadidam upasate, you cannot objectify Brahman, etc. And so, whole Shastra talks about the fact that Brahman is not objectified. It is nature of the subject. It is not subject, honestly speaking. It is the truth of the subject. Subject is the knower. Everything is known. Everything is object. Then I am subject. I am the knower. Everything is known, but I am not knower. That is Chidabhasa. You please understand. We have seen that. So I am the Atma who is not involved in any transaction. I am not the knower. Knower actually transacts. It is in the process of transaction of knowing. I am not even a Jnata. That is a Chidabhasa alone. But I am the truth of the knower. That's how I am. Because knower also comes and goes. And therefore I am the truth of the knower. That is knowledge. That is consciousness. The knower stands on consciousness. The knower is a conscious entity. And that consciousness I am. So I am truth of the even subject. That's how we have to understand. This subject-object, basically, they are relative things. As the object is, I am a knower or a subject. If object is not there, I am no more a knower also. But I am the truth of the knower. The knower resolves into knowledge. No resolves into consciousness. That consciousness is the truth. That's consciousness I am. That is the thing. So this is very well brought out in this story. I mean, so basically, since I am not even a subject knower, so how will you know the knower? That's a very big thing. If knower is required to know everything in the creation, but if I want to know who is this knower, what will I do? Nothing works, because that's my ultimate reality, that I am the knower. But what is the truth of this knower? In order to know the knower, what is required? You need an external means of knowledge, right? Your means of knowledge is not helpful to you. In fact, they are instruments for the knower. But so to know the knower, ultimately you need external means called Uma, the Brahma Vidya, the Shastra, etc. Well, which tells you you are no more a knower. Shastra knocks out the knower and tells you are the truth of the knower, that is consciousness. So knower approaches the Shastra. Knower approaches the Shastra. Without knower, who approaches the Shastra? Knower approaches. And well, he knows himself as a knower only. Shastra reveals to himself that you are not knower. You are the truth of the knower. So somebody else has to tell the knower that you are not a knower. Could you follow what I am saying? That is very well brought out here. So all these senses and mind and everyone approach Yaksha in order to know. Well, Yaksha disappeared and Brahmavidya came in place of it and said, well, all that is Brahman, etc. So this is how we have to understand. And this is very well brought out in this story. And this Indra and others got enlightenment, and they are all worshipped. Enlightenment means nothing, no phenomena. You know very well now. That's how I can use. Now, Swamiji, which word you are using? Enlightenment is not a phenomena or not a special experience or anything. You are clear about your nature. That's all. You know you are no more ignorant about yourself. That's called enlightenment. That is what enlightenment means. You are no more ignorant regarding your nature. But how will I know that I am no more ignorant? Whatever Shastra tells about you, you are able to nod your head. Yes. Shastra says you are all pervasive. I say, yeah, I am all pervasive. You are able to nod your head. Shastra says you are all pervasive. When I am looking at it with surprise, then there is no, then I am not enlightened. So this is the difference. So what Shastra says, I immediately say yes. Yes, that is what I am. Well, that's enlightenment. That's what enlightenment is. And that is your reality. Shastra tells who you are in reality, right? And therefore you also say, yes, I don't have any doubt what Shastra says, regarding what Shastra says about me. So anyway, so they all got now this Agni, Vayu and Indra. They thought that the worship, they got the victory, etc. They gained, and the praise they received were all because of them. Now they do not have the notion anymore, having recognized that everything belongs to Ishvara, knowing that Brahman, they are Atitaram Eva. Eva means here Eva. Eva means a big, as though they are excelled. No. They are really excelled because of this gaining knowledge. So Eva. Eva means here they excelled other devatas. They are more exalted than other devatas. So Indra came back, but in the three also Indra actually came back and taught after gaining knowledge from Uma and taught Agni and Vayu. So they also became exalted. And so who are the devatas? They who are exalted. It has been told Yad, Agni, Vayu, Indra, these three. And why are they more exalted? Because Tehi enat nedishtam pasparshuhu. They came to know intimately the Yaksha. Nedishtam Brahman. They came to know intimately Brahman. Nedishtam, they have not said Brahman, but what is Nedishtam is actually Brahman. Brahman is the closest to me in the form of I. And that is how Nedishtam means closest. That is how it is. So very intimately they came to know as the self, They came to know the self as a Brahman. And here it says, Prathama Shabda they have used in the mantra. So the word Prathama meaning the first, but it's an adverb qualifying the verb Vidanchakara. Prathamam Vidanchakara. Tata eva Prathamam Vidanchakara. So Vidanchakara means they knew. Vid dhatu is there. Vidanchakara means a past tense actually. Vid plus kru. From that it forms Vidanchakara. Very typical kind of a verb. But vid dhatu we know, so we can understand. Chakara indicates a past tense. And so Vidan Chakara means they knew. So, and so Prathamam Vidan Chakara. So, Prathamam is first. So, te Vidan Chakara. So, this plural word te means these devatas who they were taught first. So, and Prathama means they came to know first. And that means other devatas were taught also later. So the Prathamam indicates Indra first taught to these two devatas, and then other devatas came to know also that Yaksha was Brahman. So that shows they had not kept this as a secret, that Yaksha was Brahman, or whatever is there is this ultimately Brahman. That must have been passed on. This knowledge must have been passed on to other devatas also to indicate that this Prathama word is there. First they came to know. Means later other people also came to know. Other devatas came to know. So, but since they came to know first, they are definitely greater. That's what it says. And once I gain this knowledge, even though there is no guru, no shishya, that is the knowledge. There is no guru, no shishya. Guru tells to a shishya that there is no guru, no shishya. You are no more a shishya and I am no more a guru, etc. etc. This is knowledge. Very, very, very amazing knowledge this is, really. So, basically that is how they say real guru is a guru who makes the shishya independent of himself. Really. Parents are the parents. These parents are the real parents who make the children independent of them. Yeah, that they are the real parents. That should be the teaching. That should be the upbringing of the parents. That should be the teaching of the teacher, which makes the shishya independent of everything, including teacher. He makes any teacher who makes the student independent of himself through the teaching. That's a real teaching. But if a teacher makes it dependent, and it happens, generally it happens. Oh, Swamiji, suppose you ask to any son, I am not in the picture, but you ask you tell to some teacher, oh Swamiji, you are living and now what we will do, etc., etc. And no, we will have a void now in our life, etc. Then really it is not a real teaching. Real teaching is a student is independent. Well, he will not have any sense of lack even after going, etc. Teacher may leave, but then the student will be independent. So anyway, so this is a teaching that there is no guru, no shishya, etc. Right? So pita naiva, me naiva, etc. is there. In that all itself it appears. Na guru, na shishya, etc. Anyway, so but still, as long as this upadhi is there, I am going to tell something. That's how I'm putting this thing. So I received this knowledge from this person, and as long as some teacher, and as long as this upadhi, the body mind sense complex is there, I am alive, then the respect is always given to the guru, and that is what it is. So here also devas who gained the knowledge first are offered salutations because they are gurus. So they say very beautifully, they generally ask the question, Advaitam means basically no teacher, no student, etc. Then sometime guru also should do a prostration to the teacher, to the student. The teacher should do a prostration to the student, because ultimately Advaitam, one tattva alone, one everything is Brahman. Well, so they say, Bhavat Advaitam sada kuryat, kriya Advaitam na karhichit, Advaitam trishu lokeshu, na Advaitam guruna saha. So, with Guru, you should not do Advaita. Even though, as long as you are alive, basically, you should offer salutations to your teacher, whoever is, you should offer salutation. You should not tell teacher that, well, you are also Brahman, I am also Brahman. Now, sometime you also do salutations to me. Don't tell that. So, all the time, offer salutations to the teacher. That's what it has been shown. Bhavatvaitam sada kuryat. Bhavadvaitam means basically everything is one, that is a bhava, Advaita bhava. That is okay. But Trishu Lokeshu Advaitam is also alright. But na Advaitam Guruna saha. Who has given you this knowledge of Advaita, to such teacher always there should be respect. Anyway, so among these three, Indra, Agni and Vayu, Indra is more exalted than other two, and that has been revealed in the next mantra. Tasmadva Indraha Atitaram Iva Anyan Devan Sahya Enannedishtam Pasparsha Sahyena Prathamo Vidanchakara Brahmeti. Since Indra taught this knowledge to Agni and Vayu, he remains the most exalted among all the Devatas. Well, first has been told all the three Devatas are exalted compared to other Devatas because they knew this Yaksha very intimately as a self, etc., as a Brahman. But among the three also, actually, Uma taught to Indra only that Yaksha is a Brahman, etc. And therefore, Indra excels all the other Devatas because Sahi Enad Nedishtham Pasparsha, he came in close contact with the Yaksha, and by the grace of same Yaksha in the form of Brahma Vidya, well, he knew. So he was the first one to receive the knowledge, and therefore he is the most exalted among all the Devatas. So even though all the other Devatas who received knowledge, they are all Jnanis, but Indra continues to be the recipient of worship from other Devatas. So this interesting story basically implies that these Devas actually, like Indra, could not and did not know until they were taught. So at the same time, this Vastu, the Brahman Atma is a Prasiddham, and the same Brahman as Ishvara is a Prasiddha in the form of, all that is here. Still it is Gneyam and to be known, but it is Samanyata Prasiddham. That is, let's take an example of a rope snake. See, what happens is rope is not totally unknown to you. Rope is known as a this. If it is, suppose a total darkness is there, then there is no question of, the rope will be totally covered in the darkness. There will not be a mistake called sarpa, etc. So rope is known, but not known as a rope in such a situation. Then what words we use? We use word this. When you use word this, means you know it is a rope there, but this is a rope is a knowledge. But instead you say this. But afterwards, instead of saying rope, you say something else. So when Samanya Prasiddhi is there of a rope in terms of this, then definitely, and then later Visheshata Prasiddhi. Vishesha Prasiddhi means it is not known as a rope. Then there are chances that Samanya Amsha of the rope joins to some mistake called snake. And therefore this Amsha basically belong to the rope, joins to Sarpa. So we say this is snake. That's all. So this means which is a locus, which is a rope, becomes a locus for what? For locus for a mistake. This part of the rope, which is prasiddham to you, which is known to you, becomes a locus for the mistake. And that is why this Rajju, the rope, is called Adhara. That's how they define. I will introduce two terms here. It's called Adhara. Adhara means what? Basically, idam pratyaya vishayam idantaya yad vastu gruhyate tad adharam, that which is perceived by you as this object. From the object, this part only is prasiddham for you, is called Adhara. the locus for mistake ultimately. So, well, when you say this is actually, that is a rope, but you are not knowing as a rope. And then, well, such a Rajju, whose Samanya Prasiddhi you have, whose Samanya Amsha is known, or it is which is known to you in general as this, etc., becomes a locus for the mistake to occur later. And we say, this is snake. I mean, when this is snake, you are saying, well, this Amsha belongs to rope. And but not known as a rope, you say it is as a snake. So, Rajju is called a Adharaha because it is a locus for a mistake called snake. Could you follow what I am saying? So, this Amsha, and that is how the snake goes away. When knowledge takes place, snake Amsha goes away. But this Amsha does not go away. Now after, lighting a torch or a lamp or something, well, you say this is rope. So then this Amsha continues. So well, this Amsha was there before also. When you did a mistake, this is snake. That this Amsha continues even after getting knowledge. Now you say this is rope. So that this Amsha, he will definitely belong to rope. And that, that is called Samanya Prasiddhi. Known in general. What? Rope. Rope in general known as this. But Vishesha Prasiddhi as a rope not known to you. Well, so anything which is a Samanya Prasiddham and known in general but not known in particular will become a locus for a mistake. That's what I want to convey. And a locus of mistake in Sanskritam is called Adharaha. Adhara. And in the wake of knowledge, well, the mistaken part goes away. So, yasya jnanena aropita vastu nivartante tad adhishthanam. So, in the wake of which knowledge, the mistaken object disappears is called adhisthana. So, now, yasya jnanena, in the wake of which knowledge? In the wake of rope knowledge, the mistaken object called snake disappears, then I can call this rope as a adhisthana. Could you follow? So, basically, Adhara and adhishthanam, can you find the difference? Adhara means a locus for a mistake. And adhisthana means by knowledge of which the mistaken part or the mistake goes away. Mistaken object goes away is called adhisthana. That's the difference between the two. A locus for mistake is adhara, and the knowledge of which can remove the mistake, that object is called adhisthana. So, yasya jnanena aropita vastu nivartate tad adhishthanam, in the wake of which knowledge the mistaken object called snake disappears is called adhisthana. In the wake of whose knowledge? In the wake of rope's knowledge. In the wake of knowing it as a rope, the mistaken object called snake disappears. So then I can call this Rajju as a adhisthana. Same thing here. Now leave aside this rope snake. The self-evident Atma, which is I am, is Adhara. Is self-evident. Samanyata Prasiddham. So Atma is known, Brahman is known to me in general as I am, but not knowing in particular that I am Brahman. So that I am becomes a Adhara. There in the case of rope snake it was this part, and here now I am, and that I am becomes a Adhara, locus for me to commit a mistake. And therefore I am a sansari and subject to limitations, pain and sorrow, and I am this and that and that. So there we are saying this is snake, this is etc. This is garland, whatever people are perceiving. Here also I am becomes a adhara, a locus for mistake. I am sansari, I am sorrowful, I am this, I am that, I am human being, I am male, female, etc. Well, so this is a superimposition on I am. Well, there also there is a superimposition of a snake on this. Alright, could you follow? So where there it is this, here it is I am. They're both, I am is a samanyamsha. I know the Atma in general, that as I am. But I don't know myself as a Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and and I commit a mistake of taking myself to be a samsari, a limited being. And then when pramana, well, knowledge of means of knowledge, well, definitely they are operated. Well, definitely I come to know that I am Brahman. So, well, now when I say I am Brahman, so knowledge of Brahman, well, definitely removes the mistake, notions about myself as a samsari or as a limited being, etc. And therefore, Brahman is called Adhisthana. Yasya jnanena, well, definitely in wake of whose knowledge, that is Brahman, the mistaken I, called samsari, etc., disappears and is called Adhisthana. So, Brahman is Adhisthana, whose knowledge ultimately removes the notion regarding the myself. And what are the notions? A limited being, a samsari, etc., or a human being, this, etc., whatever. All these notions disappear. In the case of rope snake, that snake disappears. Here in the case of, every other thing disappears. I am continues, please understand. So I am belongs to Atma, that is but Samanyamsha. There this part continues. This is snake I was telling. And then I say this is rope. So this part actually remains common. Means that is actually belongs to the, this part also belongs to the snake, then snake also disappear and this amsha also disappear, but it doesn't happen. So this amsha belongs to the satyamsha, that is the rope, and it continues, only it becomes a locus in absence of that vishesha jnanam of the rope, and I say this is snake. Same way I am continues. Well, when I was saying I am samsari, etc., well, I am part continues, and I am Brahman I say, then also I am continues. So I am belongs to a satyamsha it is of from Atma alone appears as a I am. I mean that amsha is a samanya jnanam of Atma or a Brahman to me, and Vishesh amsha is not there. Then I am becomes a locus for all the mistakes to occur. And then later, of course, that amsha goes away in wake of knowledge of Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is called Adhisthana, whose knowledge definitely makes a disappearance of all the mistakes regarding I. So that is how the knowledge that the self-evident Atma is Brahman takes place as a result of one's exposure to the Uma, that is Shruti Pramana, and our pursuit is only to gain this knowledge of the Adhishthanam, that is Brahman, which removes all this superimposition or samsaritvam on the Atma, I am, which is Adhara. Atma, that is I am, that is Adhara, locus for all the mistakes called samsaritvam, etc. They are all superimposed, and that superimposition goes away in the knowledge of Brahman, and the Brahman becomes Adhisthana. Could you follow? So, by whose knowledge all the superimposition goes away, that vastu is called Adhisthana. And a locus on which you superimpose something, or locus on which for which you do some mistakes, or you superimpose something, that locus is called Adhara. That locus is taken for something else, I mean. So that is regarding this Adhara and Adhisthana. In case if you have a problem, you think over and then can ask a question. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.